our Sunday school class is going to be.
Again, thank you. This is my first time here. The church picked me up unseen, which is probably a good thing because we weren't seeing you go, ah! But thank you. I'm reminded of the book of 3 John, the shortest book of the Bible. He's writing a man by the name of Gaius, and Gaius' name just simply means I'm glad. And I didn't turn it on, sorry. And about verse 5, 6, he talks about how Gaius has helped those that have gone forth for his name's sake, and they've helped him in a godly sort, and they became fellow helpers of the truth. And he just expresses his gratitude to those who have helped him on the mission field, and I'd like to do that with you, and just say thank you again for allowing us to represent you in the country of Australia. Also give you an invitation if you ever get a chance to come to Australia. It's a beautiful country. 90% of the people live on the coast. As you go inland, probably 2 or 3 hours from, it'd be called the bush. Once you get beyond the bush, it's the outback. Now, when you get into the middle of the outback, it's called beyond the black stump. Now, when you get out that far, you usually carry petrol. Don't call it gas, they'll laugh at you, and water. And once you get beyond the black stump, you come to the Never Never. And the Northern Territory is known as the Never Never, and we live on the edge of that. And a number of years ago, they had an advertising campaign that said, "You'll never, never know if you never, never go." And God used that to challenge us about going up to Darwin. When I was about 14 years old, some of my friends heard about some people that were going over to the ball fields in Seville, Ohio, that's where I grew up, that were passing out tracts. And we thought it was kind of funny. And so we went over to make fun of them. And somehow I got separated from my friends. I'm on a bleacher on the very top of it. And a young man by the name of Eddie, he got me cornered. And man, he's going at it. I didn't believe anything he was saying, but I knew that he believed it. And he gave me a gospel tract. I took that tract with me, and I kept it for several years. Probably 4, maybe 5 years have passed. And one day, my best friend, his name was Donnie Megger, he came to my house and said, "You won't believe it, that Michael Lamar has become," and I don't like the phrase, but this is back in the 70s, but he became a Jesus freak. And we thought it was really funny. Now, Mike, he was pretty heavily involved in drugs. This is 1976, and but he had just gotten saved. And we laughed about that. 2 weeks later, Donnie comes to my house, and now he's a Christian, and he begins to witness to me. I wasn't interested, but he began to talk to me about Christ over and over and over. I just bought a new car. I didn't have my driver's license, but I had a car, and I needed someone to ride with me. And so sometimes I'd ask him if he'd like to go for a ride. And he'd get in my car, turn off my radio, and he had this little New Testament. And he didn't know anything. He's only been saved for a few days, and he'd start flipping pages, going through the Romans road, and he'd read a verse, no comment, read a verse, and he began to talk to me. And at that time, I was working at a warehouse, and I was working about 60 hours a week or something like that. And it was a Friday night. I had Friday off, and I didn't want to stay home on a Friday night. I'm 18 years old. So I have to make it, I can go out with my cousin. I thought they were going to play basketball. Like, no, you, please take the ball, And I found out they fouled just like everybody else would foul. They would get mad like everybody else would get mad. And they didn't like him too well. But I remember the teenagers cared for me. And I remember the first time I went to church. It was Calvary Baptist Church, Whitman, Ohio. I was sitting on the second row, about where you're at. And with the youth meeting in this room, and I thought, this is a big room. It wasn't as big as this, but I thought it was a big room, and I'm wondering what I'm doing there. And I still remember the first 2 people who came by and said, "Man, I'm glad you're here." And the one boy, his name was Matt Howe, and a girl by the name of Kim Pratt. And a few weeks later, we were having revival services with an evangelist by the name of Joe Boyd. He's been gone for several years. Hard preacher, a really hard preacher. And on a Wednesday night, I went forward, I talked to the evangelist, and he led me to the Lord on the 12th of May, 1976. 2 days later, on a Friday night. I got baptized. There's probably 20 teenagers, revival. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but a number of teenagers got saved at the same time. 3 months later, I surrendered to preach. I went straight to Bible college, and I didn't know anything. I still don't know a whole lot, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know the difference between Christmas and Easter, except Christmas, gifts under the tree. Easter, you had to hunt for that basket, okay? I didn't know much. But after I graduated from school, they kept me there for 14 years as youth pastor, and I really enjoyed working with teenagers. And my preaching style is probably, I'm not as formal as I wish I could be. I try to be, but I'll tell you, I'm probably going to tell some bad jokes that, at least that's what everybody tells me. I tell bad jokes. And, after 14 years, I'll share some more tonight. God called us to the mission field. There was a church in the Sydney area, Sherwood Hills Baptist Church. It was an established church. They had a Christian school. They invited me to come work with them. That's how we were able to get in the country. We arrived there in 98. We were planning on going up to Darwin after a year. And we're really thankful for the people there because they really welcomed us. They helped us with the language, and even though Australia speaks English, sort of, it's a little bit different, and you can get in trouble by saying the wrong words. And so now, I don't know if I'm speaking Australian, American, or a little West Virginian in there, okay? So we're really grateful for the folks there. They welcomed us. They loved us. They became our children's grandparents and uncles and aunts, and they just really cared for us. And they asked if we would head up a project of passing out New Testaments and gospel tracts in the Sydney 2000 Olympics. And we did that partly because of the opportunity, but also just to say thank you for what they did for us. During that time period, my wife developed cancer, and we had to make some choices. Darwin, even today, doesn't have all the medical facilities that you would need. And so we weren't sure what we were going to do, but the pastor we were working with, his health failed, and so the church asked if I'd stay as an interim pastor, and we did that. And my wife went through the cancer treatment. She's cancer-free now, and after about 4 years. And so I resigned there. We came back for really our only furlough. We've been back and forth several times, but that was the only furlough that we've had for a lengthy period of time. When we went back to Australia, we went straight to Darwin. And again, the ministry in Campbelltown was very similar to ministry in the States. It was very busy. We had a Christian school, and we had a small Bible institute, and God blessed. We had good growth. It was one of the larger churches in Australia. We started out with about 80 and ended up with 140. We started a children's program, and that really helped our church. And it was a good ministry, and we still have a lot of good friends there. Then we went up to Darwin, and we didn't know anyone. And I'll be real honest with you, Darwin was tough. It's just really hard. And we've been there for 10 years. We had a group of people coming from other churches, and we didn't have doctrinal unity. And I thought good preaching would, straighten all that out. Well, maybe the preaching wasn't so good. And about 10 years ago, we were ready to come back to the States. And I was doing a series of messages on spiritual gifts. Now, in Australia in general, and Northern Territory in particular, they believe that you have to speak in tongues in order to go to heaven. And we know that's not true. You're saved